All right, all right. Thanksgiving is over, man. Back from Thanksgiving. Thanks for joining Real Estate Lunchbox, where I am actually live right now. The guy who does all his production, his own stuff. Yes, curated by me, just to provide you guys with some good content surrounding real estate, the real estate culture, everything having to do with mortgages, loans, and just the culture and the news surrounding real estate and everything that's happening that could potentially affect real estate. And then my favorite part, living in Atlanta and what's it truly like. My name is Leon. I've been a real estate investor, a broker since 2006. Got my real estate license. A broker since 2009, an investor since 2015. I've had the pleasure fixing property, flipping property, help investors find and flip property. And I do what I normally do, which is look for real estate deals all over, and see what type of deals work for me. Some deals work, some deals don't. So what? On to the next one. On to the next one. So I'm streaming live on YouTube and also on Facebook. You can also check me out at Real Estate Lunchbox on Facebook too. Please like, subscribe, follow for more content. If you're watching this in replay, your comments are always appreciated. And if you are watching this live, all I can say is holla at your boy. Holla at your boy, holla at your boy. I love to talk about everything real estate and everything non-real estate. Talk. You can also find me at The Real Leon Duncan on YouTube. Love creating content over there. Just talking about the real estate business, some of the do's and the don'ts. As a real estate broker, I've seen it all. A good amount, a fair amount, I guess, of it all. But I got some good stuff for you this week. Today, we're going to do a couple different things different. But we're going to start with, of course, before we get everything rocking and rolling, I can't help but talk about Live Free, Give Hope. And what is Live Free, Give Hope? Live Free, Give Hope gives you a chance, if you live in Atlanta or even outside of the city of Atlanta, to win a one-bedroom, one-bath apartment. Just go to 12monthfreerent.com. You can enter to win. The sweepstakes does not require any purchasing. But if you decide that you want some bulk bonus entries, you can do some bonus entries. Bonus entries for every dollar in bonus entry, you get, for every dollar you spend, you get one entry in a bonus entry. What's cool about this is that this owner came to me with this concept, and I thought it was just a phenomenal idea. So I went ahead and I said, hey, I want to be a part of it. I'm going to push it. I want to be an ambassador, help your ambassadors out. And anything I can do to help, I love doing it. Live Free, Give Hope just gives you a chance, whether you're an investor and you're like, man, I want to get a door. I'm trying to get some more doors. I'm trying to add some more properties to my portfolio. Live Free, Give Hope gives you the opportunity to do that, where you can enter to win. And let's say you is fully furnished, comes with utilities there for 1 year. Can't beat it. Can't beat that. In the heart of the city, you're literally minutes away from the AUC, minutes away from downtown Atlanta. You can't beat that. Retail costs $17,500. Doesn't matter where you are in the country. You enter to win, you get the spot. You just got to claim it in 30 days, and that means you can give it to somebody to rent and make some cash flow off of that thing. Go crazy. And if you're somebody, you're moving to the city of Atlanta, guess what? This is the coolest sweepstakes to be a part of, because now you get a chance you don't have to come out your pocket and pay for your first place that you're going to live in Atlanta. It's already taken care for you by Live Free, Give Hope. Just go to 12monthfreerent.com and you can enter to win. And hey, let's get this thing rocking, man. Let's get this thing rocking. Ooh. This weekend has been so crazy. I'm going to tell you, Thanksgiving weekend was off the chain. Not because of the in-laws in the house with me, because it wasn't anything having to do with that. Had to do with what President Trump was up to, kicking Somalians out the country, the fraud, the level of fraud, The level of fraud, man, I'm telling you, I was sitting back wondering, what the hell? I'm like, what the heck, man?
Congratulations. Well done.
Whoa, man, I'm like, this has been going on for years. This is not something that just started one day. Somebody didn't just say, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to do some fraud. Nah. Them jokers been doing this thing. When the Democrats were in office, they were doing this, and they were doing this at the highest level. Welfare fraud, front funding. Oh, let's cover some of these stories because this does affect real estate. It does affect how we play in the market. Because believe you me, any Somalians up there that's being kicked out, anybody that is illegally here, you're being kicked out, and you bought a house, dang going, man.
Oh, no.
You need to reach out to your local realtor. And if you have an investor in the area that's willing to buy that property from you, you need to go ahead and sell it. And that's why we're here. Joining the Patreon, we talk about all of that stuff, opportunities in the market, how to find the bag, around AI, around real estate, doesn't matter. Join the Patreon and exclusive content, exclusive conversations, 30-minute Q&As I give every month. We're going to do a 30-minute Q&A. So if you got a real estate question, you're trying to break into wholesaling, you're trying to break into it doesn't matter. Join the Patreon and let's talk more about it. We'll probably set up some time where I do some one-on-ones. The market right now is a buyer's market, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. And we're also going to cover a little bit of what's taking place in New York when it comes to this rent cap. And Zoran Mandani, will he actually do anything to help a city already that has had a rent cap for landlords, and landlords aren't renting their place, they're just letting it sit down there. So we got to see what Mr. Zoran Mandani is going to do. But let's jump into this right now, because first thing we're going to talk about is this crazy welfare fraud in Minnesota. I'm going to tell you what I think about this.
Did money from Minnesota taxpayers earmarked to feed hungry children wind up in the hands of a Somali terrorist group? The allegations center around a massive welfare fraud case being brought in Minnesota. A 78th defendant was charged just today. And now reports are coming out that some of the stolen money may have wound up in the hands of Al-Shabaab, a Somali-based terror group. In response, President Trump says he intends to end deportation protections for about 700 Somali nationals in Minnesota, calling Minnesota a, quote, hub for Somali gang networks.
See, the biggest problem I got with this is that not with this story, not with what Trump is doing, but with what people say concerning these situations. I believe that the left is turning a blind eye. I believe also that there's a lot of people that are saying this is racist. The liberals got them in an uproar. You guys can't be in an uproar and say this is racist when there's clear signs of fraud. And that's clear what's going on. It's signs of fraud. Ilhan Omar and Tim Walz, some of the representatives that have been elected into the office in Minnesota, you can't tell me that they did not know anything about this. They had no idea, no concept that something of this level, this caliber was actually taking place. It's because they are lying to themselves and to you. They know, and they justify it already because America is rich. America is rich. They're not talking about you and me. They're talking about the billionaires that sit in office. They're talking sit in office. Yeah, Nancy Pelosi. They're talking about the billionaires out there. They're talking about the multi-hundred millionaires out there, headed towards being billionaires. And they're saying that they probably are saying this is justified. There's no justification for this, because when people that really need this money in America look for it, they say state to state that the funding's strapped because the money's going to this illegal activity that's potentially funding terrorist organizations that hate us.
Though he's provided no evidence for that. So what are the facts on the ground? Investigative correspondent Rich McHugh is at the federal courthouse in Minneapolis, Minnesota for us tonight. Rich, what are you learning?
Hi, Elizabeth. Well, we're at the federal courthouse where that 78th indictment came down just a few hours ago. All of it tied to Feeding Our Future. That's the corrupt nonprofit at the center of all of this fraud. We spoke with current and former federal sources, and they tell us billions have been stolen since 2019, that Minnesota is just riddled with fraud, and that a lot of this money goes back to Somalia, and a cut of all that money has gone to the Al-Qaeda-linked terror group Al-Shabaab. But I want to reset this for viewers because it's complicated. This all stems from Feeding Our Future. That's the largest COVID fraud ever. These criminals opened more than 200 federal child nutrition program sites throughout Minnesota, and sites lied, claimed to be serving meals to thousands of children a day. They created fake attendance rosters, fake invoices, and the government reimbursed them. David Gaither, he's a former...
So this is racism, right? Listen, and tap your liberal friend. This is racism. They're being, racist towards Somalians, and nobody's speaking up about it. I don't see anything on the left about this. I don't see anything from CNN justifying this. They just talk about it, and it's not Ilhan Omar's fault. It's not Tim's Walsh's fault. It's just some reckless players who did it. And that's the story they're just going to let us just believe.
Senator here, he saw this firsthand.
Rich, this is the Safari restaurant in downtown Minneapolis. This is the epicenter of some of the biggest fraud and waste and abuse in this area. The owner right now is currently in jail, federal jail. This restaurant, which seats about 35, supposedly served 18,000 plus meals a day.
A day?
A day for 7 months.
Man, that place doesn't even look like they can fit 18,000 people in that place. A day? Wow.
18,000 plus.
Now, Minnesota Rep. Ilhan Omar, she was a fixture at this restaurant, the Safari, during her run for office. I think we have a photo of her at the restaurant with her supporters in 2018. Feeding Our Future, that's that corrupt nonprofit. It was the epicenter of it, but others spawned from it. There were home relocation services, child autism. They were bilking $399 million in services fraud in 2023 alone. To date.
Ooh, $399 million in 2023. So you got to wonder, the years before, how much were they making? $399 million. Trump shut them down, shut them down, shut them down.
86 people have been indicted and counting. Federal authorities tell News Nation 79 of them are of Somali descent.
Ooh. 89 out of 80, 86, 79. So this is not racism.
We've been holding accountable those that are perpetrators of the crime. But we are not holding accountable those that created the opportunity to have those perps do what they did.
And that would be?
The policymaker, the attorney general, and the administration.
Now, federal sources that we've spoken to, several of them, said the same thing to me, Elizabeth. They say there's a saying in the Somali community here that when it rains in Minneapolis, umbrellas go up in Mogadishu. That just about sums it up. Back to you.
Wow, almost 100 people charged in this scheme so far. Rich McHugh reporting in Minneapolis. Thanks so much.
So almost 100 people charged. So when you hear them getting upset and people are getting mad, and this is not a racist thing. This has little to do with race and little to do with color. What I guess I feel like a lot of people don't really get is that the same liberties that we have, those same liberties, when it becomes the same thing that could put you into slavery and a bondage, because people use words like racism and Nazi and all these things that they're flying around, that they're throwing out to discourage conversation concerning what's taking place in Minnesota. And the conversation needs to be, how has this gone this long without anybody shutting this thing down? Why do we have to wait until a Trump presidency to actually get any type of answers, this being confronted? But they will shut down. They'll shut down a budget. They'll shut down the country. Fighting for for food stamps, for SNAP, and for Medicaid. When they should be going back and looking at what are we spending, who are we sending it to, and should we actually be sending it to them? And that's the that's one of the biggest problems, is that there's no checks and balances. Nobody's being held accountable. And now Trump comes in and he holds these people accountable. And he's saying this, and you hear it over on the left. Oh, this is racist. This is fascist. This is all these different things, never addressing the lying, the stealing, the scam that's taking place in their backyard. Dealing with the people that they're raising, that's voting for them in some cases into office. And why now you can understand why Ilhan Omar why she continuously keeps and has a stronghold in that community. Because when you could turn a blind eye, why would we put anybody else as a representative that could potentially stop this cash flow from flowing? This cash cow. That's it right there. That's it. We literally have a district in our country now ran by a complete different ethnicity group that does not have any sovereignty, any respect, any respect for America. They don't. The place that actually took them out of where they are, they scamming it and they running it down. And the cry is, hey, there's not enough jobs. There's so many different. But just like Dearborn, Michigan, this area, this district is ran by people that don't like our country. They won't fight for us. They won't sit. We go into World War III, they'll be the ones that's opening the back door for our opponents to get in. And that's the saddest part. So he needs to hold them accountable. And this thing runs even deeper.
A massive fraud scheme uncovered in Minnesota found money intended for social services has been allegedly siphoned indirectly into the pockets of the Somali terrorist group Al-Shabaab. Somali immigrants in Minnesota have reportedly been abusing systems meant to help the most unfortunate among us, including the latest federally funded autism services. The autism fraud scheme reportedly amassed $14 million.
Man, you a slime bucket if you stealing money from autistic kids, bro. You're a slime bucket.
Through Medicare claims for services that were never provided, involving kids who never had autism. And the Somali immigrants behind this web of schemes have allegedly stolen billions from taxpayers, much of the money going back to the Somali government, where it would then end up in the hands of terrorists. Manhattan Institute investigative reporter Ryan Thorpe was one of the first exposing the schemes for their ties to terrorism. With us now, Ryan, a line from your story stuck out. The largest funder of Al-Shabaab is the Minnesota taxpayer, and you cite an unnamed source for that. What is the evidence that all of this money that was taken and the billions upon billions of increased funding in Minnesota for social services ended up in Somalia?
Well, billions of dollars of government welfare money is missing in the state of Minnesota.
How do we define missing?
Well, the fraud is so bad that the U.S. Attorney's Office has come out and indicated that they believe their entire government programs, where the fraudulent claims outstrip the legitimate ones. There are cases where indictments have come down or guilty pleas are already in to the tunes of hundreds of millions of dollars that were fraudulently obtained, filing false claims alongside doctored paperwork. And the indictments are continuing to come. And the U.S. Attorney's Office has made very clear that this is a network of fraud schemes stacked upon fraud schemes, and that while the true dollar figure in terms of stolen funds at this point isn't quite clear, it's safe to say that we're talking about billions of dollars.
Okay.
Wow. So Atlanta was notorious for scammers. I guess Minnesota just beat out Atlanta. They just beat it out. Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh yeah. You guys just broke the bucket. I mean, Atlanta has scammers, but this nothing compared to these motherfuckers up that shit. Ain't nothing.
Oh no.
I mean, dude, they've been doing this thing for years. Eating well. They need to be showing pictures of what they driving, because I know for 100% these guys are they live in it. Wow. 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 So you wonder where all the money's going. And see, this is the thing. I keep saying this is when there's a difference between politicians and business people. And you make politicians business people, meaning you ask them to run a business organization which has people that work for it, which caters to the public, and you ask them to run that business like a business, but you forget that all you're doing is asking lawyers, failed business people, people who couldn't get jobs, who are socialist and communist, people who you wouldn't even hire them to flip your fries. You ask them now to run and represent you, and they do it. And then you ask them to manage the money for the country. And this is what happens. See, y'all can throw stuff at Trump and say, man, the guy's getting billionaires to fund renovation projects in the White House. He's not for the people, and he's using the people. Tell me the last time where we made some of these billionaires and millionaires bend over.
Oh no.
Tell me the last time where we got something from them for all of the work and all the services that we buy, that we pay overpriced for and that they outsource to China. See, my thing isn't, I'm not anti-billionaire either. No, money can be used for good as well as it can be used for evil. And I'm definitely not freaking socialist or communist. Hell the fuck no. I lean more to the right because I do respect the creative nature of finding things and creating assets that actually help the country, that actually help your fellow man, okay? But golly, when you put these other people that are politicians into fucking office and you give them the purse strings, look what they get. Look what they end up doing. Look what the hell they end up doing, yo. And then you say then they scream and they say that it's a fascist regime. Should we be ignoring all of this because you say it's a fascist regime? Because fascism, just like you throw the word racism out, just like you throw the word, all these other words, and you woke and you throw them against people and you believe that, oh, it just needs to stick because you said it sticks. But this is not anything that anyone can ignore. This is the reason why they need to drain every last government program funding this shit, because you have people that actually live here that really do need it. I'm telling you, I'm not don't give it to anybody type of person. But I imagine how many grandmothers, how many mothers, how many families that really go through a lot of shit that really need that funding in Minnesota, in any other states. But he can't get it because it's going overseas funding terrorists. And the left won't say anything about it.
It's pretty wild, some of the things that you lay out, including one group called Feeding the Future that went from getting $3.4 million in 2019 to $200 million 2 years later. They grew faster than NVIDIA. How did nobody see that? Or is it that people and the government and those who are supposed to be the watchdogs, like Tim Walz, like Keith Ellison, the Attorney General there, just weren't looking?
I think it's safe to say that there was a real unwillingness or inability among Democratic state officials in Minnesota to recognize some pretty obvious alarm bells here. All across these programs, claims were skyrocketing, absolutely spiraling out of control over a short period of time. And the reality is that the Somali community, which is where these large-scale fraud rings have been concentrated within this population in the state, it is a sizable voting bloc. It is a voting bloc you have to win if you're going to win political office in Minneapolis. And so I think that...
So you clearly see where the money comes. So if they can get the money in fraud, send some of it overseas to Somalia to do the dirty work over there, they can also keep some of that money in state to actually fund who stays in office in that district, and also who stays in the governor's office. I keep saying, man, this is crazy. I watch these TV shows where you watch. I think there's one show, man. Yeah, Tulsa King. If you ever seen that movie Tulsa King, that show Tulsa King with Sylvester Stallone out right now. There's a play for the governor's office, and it comes right from the Dixie Mafia, right? But they're funding who stays in the office while I think Sylvester Stallone, they're trying to also put someone in the office. We think that they're not telling the story. And that's one thing about Hollywood, I would say, with all their crookedness and crazy shit that they do. You cannot ignore that some of the storylines that come out of there, they're rooted in truth. There's some things now, you may have this fictitious thing that comes out of it that they make all this extra stuff out, but it's still rooted in truth because the only way you keep this blanket of deception and this ignorance going on is you got people in office that turn a blind eye. They just ignore the situation. They don't care, or they just totally just get paid and keep turning a blind eye to it. Because there's no way if you're the AG, if you're responsible for processing criminals for the state, can you not see like the trend of people that show up in front of you and you have to prosecute them on fraud related or possibly prosecute them on fraud related charges stemming from federal funds? I guess to ignore that and to act like it doesn't exist, like you're part of the problem. You're part of it. So they need to gut the whole thing. They need to gut the whole thing. And when you look at it at the microscopic level, you say, man, how does this affect Minnesota, Leon? I keep hearing people say some shit. They say like, hey, man, what the fuck this got to do with real estate? Bro, do you not think money goes out to buy houses that people who are hardworking could actually buy in that state and in that city? People that are like doing shit the right way, legit. They can't buy shit when they're competing against money that falls from the sky like a boat. They can't do that. Do you think it helps with their tax dollars? Do you think it helps with the appreciation of their homes or depreciation of their homes? Because don't you think that when that money flows in, it's cycled into legitimate businesses in the community and surrounding area? And everybody knows the easiest way to get some shit is to buy, when you get a bunch of money, buy some real estate, sit on it, you rent it out to all your Somalia family when they come in, and now the people who can actually buy it can't buy it. They can't get it because you got it held hostage through your fraudulent funds. I mean, come on now. Oh no. You got to recognize that shit. You got to. When people, you can't say that this is happening in Minnesota and it has no effect on me. Fuck no, you can't. You can't. That's one reason why we have issues in local market. Real estate is very local, very, very local. And when you go to Minnesota, one thing I keep hearing when people go to Minnesota is they love the freaking federal benefits. They can go there and they can get, I've heard that shit from immigrants more and more times that have moved from, I know one girl, she was doing here and she freaking moved to Minnesota. She was doing here in Atlanta, would do my wife's hair. She had a mobile hair business. And she's like, I can't make it. The money's not all that great. I'm like, shit, you getting like $300 to $400 a head. What the fuck? The money's not all that great. I'm going back to Minnesota. And she goes to Minnesota and doing great. Doing great. She's American though. Okay. Now, granted, those programs are there. How much of that is actually designated for immigrants that should be going to Americans? It's very liberal, very free, and they're milking the shit out of it.
There was likely a incentive here that made some people not want to look too closely at what's been going on.
Wow. And that would explain why now it's the U.S. attorney looking into it rather than the state law enforcement or state fraud investigators. Is there any indication, Ryan, as you get, and obviously, it's one of those things you drop an investigative piece and then all of a sudden you get 1,000 more tips that this goes higher, like actually into state government? You get the last 30 seconds.
I can't confirm that. So I don't want to get out in front of my skis here. What I can say is that this story has generated additional tips, and it is something that we are continuing to look into as we push forward with our efforts to expose the fraud rings that have been taking advantage of the generosity of Minnesota taxpayers.
Yeah, stunning also how little pickup this has gotten around the country in terms of the rest of the media. Applaud your guys' continued work on it, Ryan.
Yeah, you know, I noticed that. I had to actually search for this, and it just came through. I was listening to another creator, and he had dropped this, and I started searching for it. A lot of these prosecutions, almost close to 100 people, they started some of this 2-3 months ago. Nobody said anything about this. Nobody. And it blows my mind. Like, it was more centered in Minnesota and in that area, even though it had federal and large scale ramifications. So when Trump turns around and he says he's going to pause all immigration practices coming from third world countries and kick out Somalians that are in that area that may have been here, I sat on this for a second because I said, wow, denaturalizing anyone that's there. But then I said, wow, it makes sense. Why not? Because you got to believe that there is a level of people that don't like where you live, like don't like the sovereignty of this country, and they're still naturalized citizens. Like, they are. They would never serve in the military, would never do anything of any real substance to help the country. It would just drain it and send the money home. It needs to be addressed. We need to talk about it. And you can't just throw this guy up against the wall and call him a fascist because he's addressing
U.S. President Donald Trump has vowed to permanently pause all immigration from third world countries following the horrific attack on 2 young National Guards in Washington, D.C., which left 1 dead and 1 critically injured. Trump responded after authorities identified 29-year-old Afghan national Rahimullah Lakanwal as the suspect. He posted on Truth Social saying, "I will permanently pause migration from all third world countries to allow the US system to fully recover. Terminate all of them."
Now, one video I didn't throw in here, which was a real crazy video. I think I did a reaction to it on the Real Leon Duncan on my other page, the Real Leon Duncan. That way I can actually do more reaction and dig deeper into like content. But what blew my mind about this situation was with this shooter, he was part of a death squad, an Afghan death squad. And I'm not making it up. I'm really not. An Afghan death squad that worked with the CIA and committed whatever they off the books things that they had to do. Now, as a prior military guy, I'm like, okay. But he comes here and they don't even vet him in his entirety. Why is that crazy? You can give anybody a name in a third world country and say that's your name. You can say it's Jose. The level of identification and background checks that we go through in the United States, freaking just to get a damn water bill, like just to turn on the water in a house. Godly, you want water? They want your proof of sale. They want all this stuff. We go through less of that. I'm sorry. We go through more than they've ever gone through. They go so they can fake names out of nowhere. You can come to the U.S. and get a CPN number with a fake name. It's so many freaking loopholes that you cannot go crazy over the fact that this guy is doing this. You can't. It has to make sense to you. If somebody comes to you and gives you an ID and it's not even an official country ID, but you accept it because you don't know what official ID looks like for that country, or you may know, and it may be an older version and not a newer version, or they may have fraudulently put it together. It's so many reasons, but we turn a blind eye.
Millions of Biden illegal admissions, including those signed by Sleepy Joe Biden's AutoPen, and remove anyone who is not a net asset to the United States or is incapable of loving our country, end all federal benefits and subsidies to non-citizens of our country, denaturalize migrants who undermine domestic tranquility, and deport any foreign nationals who is a public charge, security risk, or non-compatible with Western civilization. These goals will be pursued with the aim of achieving a major reduction in illegal and disruptive populations, including those admitted through an unauthorized and illegal auto pen approval process. Only
Now that's broad. Who is a public charge, security risk, or non-compatible with Western civilization? I can hear all of the left going, "That's everybody."
Oh no.
That's a lot of people. I don't think it is. I think there are a lot of people that are like that come here that are non-compatible. And when you look at it, like there's specific people that range to this. We're not talking about people that disagree with and exercise freedom of speech. That's not it. They want to make it grow to that, but that's not it. We got to realize that a lot of Islam in itself, radical Islam specifically, is, I don't say Islam as a religion, but the radical jihad version of Islam. Now you hear that. You got to actually say radical jihad version. You can't even say Islam. Even though in Islam, there's still a lot of things that aren't compatible with the Western world, but we still yield to it because they don't live by it. But the radical Islam jihadists, yeah, they're not compatible with the United States. Why is this a hard thing for some people to understand? They're not. From how many wives they can have, how they treat their wives, and how they treat their women. They don't believe in treating their women with the level. There is a level of respect where it looks like they're idolizing the woman because you got to cover her up. You got to put the hijab on her, and you can't touch her. You can't see her skin. But yet, before she even blossoms, you're marrying her off to someone that's 12 times her age, like 12 times, 3-4 times her age. You're doing that. And God forbid she goes against anything. She can't, most of them can't read. They won't allow them to read driving. Certain rights that I don't think it's a woman or a man thing. They should have the right to speak freely, and they don't have a lot of that under Islam. They don't have that. They can't inherit what's left behind, not them and themselves. Maybe I'm tripping. I know I'm not.
reverse migration can fully cure this situation. Trump then doubled down, proving he has the authority to permanently pause immigration for third world nations, saying, Immigration and Nationality Act, Section 212F. Whenever the president finds that the entry of any aliens or any class of aliens into the United States would be detrimental to the interests of the United States, he may, by proclamation and for such a period as he shall deem necessary, suspend the entry of all aliens or any class of aliens as immigrants or non-immigrants, or impose on the entry of aliens any restrictions he may deem to be appropriate. The president was then pressed about the new policy by the press pack on Air Force One.
We never knew that we would get to a place in this country where it would unsettle some people speaking about this. And it seems like it's so cold and hard, but it's right on time. It's right on time. You know, I was asked by somebody who was a foreigner. This cat asked me to marry a woman coming out of I think she was coming out of Sierra Leone or Ivory Coast or one of those places. I said, hell no. Keep your damn $5,000. I don't need that shit. Like, what the hell? To marry some stranger. All of it sounds fraudulent. All of it.
The people from different countries that are not friendly to us and countries that are out of control themselves. Countries like Somalia that have virtually no government, no military, no police. All they do is go around killing each other. Then they come into our country and tell us how to run our country. We don't want them. What are you talking about?
Can you be mad at that? Like, they come into the country. Ilhan Omar, her specifically, I want to do something I speak about her because I've been looking into her. It's interesting. We have one of the only countries where you can come in and be not from this country and you can run for every office except for the office of the president of the United States. That's crazy, yo. That is crazy. That is so wide open. It can be exploited so easily. even though people will tell you, no, it can't be because you got to have money and funds to run. Well, what about when they take your money like they're doing now and using it against you? Okay.
You got to talk up.
She said how many countries? Is there a list?
Well, I guess we gave you 19, right? And it's probably more than that.
Is that what you mean when you mean third world countries, those 19?
No, I don't think they're all third world, but in many cases they are third world. They're not good countries. They're very crime-ridden countries. They're countries that don't do a good job. They're countries that don't register from the standpoint of success. And we, frankly, don't need their people coming into our country telling us what to do.
When you talk about denationalization,
I'm talking about like Somalia, where you have a congressman goes around telling everybody about our Constitution, and yet she supposedly came into our country by marrying her brother. Well, if that's true, she shouldn't be a congressman, and we should throw her the hell out of our country.
The president then went further as he rammed home his message, reposting a graph showing the foreign-born share of the US population is now higher than it has ever been in recorded US history. But not everyone is happy with Trump's new policy, with left-wing commentator Ro Kahana slamming Trump for his stance, saying Trump's threat to ban immigration from third world countries, an outdated term, is returning to a pre-1965 America, where immigration from nations like India was severely restricted.
You know, they'll never say there's any truth to what he's saying. They will just say that is barbaric in what he's saying. And I never hear that. See, when I look for a balanced commentary from someone that supposedly has a blue check by their name and they're supposed to be someone of influence or in a position, I look for them to give some balanced commentary on something like what Trump is saying. But I don't get that. I don't never get or see the acknowledgement of the evil or the atrocity of the manipulation of the system that's taking place. All I hear is the fight, the objection to what he's actually saying. And when that is the only thing that you hear, I got to scratch my head and wonder what's going on in their head. Like, what's going on in their brain? Like, are they truly American? Are they really truly for America? Because at the very least, if you object with someone and you object to the fact of what he's saying, you're saying, okay, it's going back to pre-1965. Gotcha. But I agree with the fact that fraud is rampant. I agree with the fact that what they're doing there is not legal. I agree with the fact that we need to rip away their visas, their green cards, and stop some of these benefits that are going over there until we can fully address what's going on in the situation. At least do that, because it makes the rational person like me sit back and say, okay, this person is at least thinking and they're going through ideas and things that they can actually creatively put together to confront what's taking place, and they're acknowledging that it's wrong, but you still don't get that. And that's the scary part. You still don't get that. You only get this brass statement, and whoever does these statements for these guys, they really mess them up. I think they really fuck y'all up really bad, because you guys have your publicists, or you think you're smart enough, you're going to do that because you're holding fast to the left. And we're all sitting back here wondering, man, that money could have been used for something different. But you don't get that. You don't get it at all.
Parents would not have been welcomed. His threat to revoke citizenships to those who views as a non-compatible after how hard immigrants from places like Mexico, El Salvador and Guatemala have worked to earn citizenships is callous and frightening.
See, and that's the part. He's not saying that if they've worked hard for their citizenship, that they should have it stripped away. What he's saying is, if you're a player and someone that is not for the country, and you, even if you got it, you need to have that taken away. That's what he's saying, because this is a privilege to be here. I keep saying it was a privilege to be a Roman citizen. Being a citizen of the United States is no different than that. It still was had the largest military, the strongest might back then. It is no different. But to take what he said and manipulate that and give it back and try to give this pity party of all these people that worked hard for it. Yeah, we all know that. And I'm for that. Coming from a family with immigrants also, I'm for that. They worked hard for their citizenship, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about the ones who got in, got their citizenship, and they're using that as a position to bring down the government or to funnel money to terrorist organizations. That stuff needs to be addressed.
What may be a casual rant on social media by the president is devastating to millions of hardworking, law-abiding immigrant families. They are reaching out scared. This is not the time for politicians to cave. But founder of Veteran Action and Afghan veteran Mark Lucas is completely behind Donald Trump.
President Trump is making the right call to pause all immigration. And I'll tell you that ordinary American citizens cannot fathom the evil that we as Afghan veterans saw in Afghanistan. These people are unvettable. They will not fit into our culture. And as a platoon leader, I had to conduct these key leader engagements with my supposed allies. And they would have these young boys, these chai boys that would serve as tea, and they were sold into sexual slavery to these pedophile men. And also my women that were attached to my unit, the female engagement team, all three of them just so happened to be blonde. We had to constantly protect these women from Afghan locals and our allies in the Afghan National Security Forces.
That's why I said they don't see women they're not compatible with the Western philosophy. They're not. And we keep letting that thought pattern into our ideology, into our country, and we think that it's wrong to call it out, and we're racist and Islamic phobic because we call it out. That is the twisting of the freedom that we have. That freedom can, and I tell people this, and it's the same thing if you're a Christian believer. The same freedom that God gave you in Christ can be manipulated and twisted by the enemy also, where it doesn't become a freedom, now becomes a bondage. Meaning, there's no real scripture, for example, that talks about not being able to drink. It just says don't be drunk with wine. Why? Because when you enter into the place of where you are becoming dependent on wine to soothe your anxieties, you become a slave to it. And the freedom to partake now goes out the window because you become dependent on it and you're not dependent on God. That's the same thing with our freedoms in our country. We can easily become slaves to our own freedom from exterior forces manipulating it against us, and then for us taking it past the point of godly freedom. And when you say godly freedom, you know what I mean by that. Okay, that's not even a good way to put it. Godly freedom. You got the freedom to drink. You may even have the freedom to sleep with another man if you want to, or a woman that you want to, somebody of the same sex. But when you take that freedom and now you manipulate people's feelings and you say, hey, you're not treating me fair because I'm LGBTQ, or you're not treating me fair because I'm black, because they won't let you do some shit that you normally, that's just foul, like teaching children about sex, same-sex marriages as an instruction for all of them, and not a counseling session for specific ones that feel a certain type of feel that way. And you tell all of them it's okay, come out to the bed, raise your hand, come up, let's teach everybody about it. Now you're twisting that freedom. You're taking that liberty and you're imposing it and twisting it. It can be twisted so many different ways. And that's what we're witnessing, a twisting of our freedom against us.
Wouldn't have done that, they would have been beaten and they would have been raped. Now, many of the men I served with in Afghanistan were courageous. I admired a few of them, but I couldn't trust any of them. And we need to deport all of these people as soon as possible to protect our homeland. We should have never brought him into our country to begin with. We couldn't hardly vet these people in theater. There's a different type of vetting when you're on a combat.
So theater is prior service. Theater is what you got your missions, your orders, you set up OCONUS, which is over the water in Iran or Iraq, depending, Afghanistan, wherever you're fighting. That whole setup, that's considered the theater right there, okay? So they couldn't vet people in theater, which makes perfectly good sense because you're out there and they can give you anything and say, this is me. And you can't communicate, you can't connect with other people that's there to validate that information. The country may not have any real system for identification. So yeah, that's the big thing. And they knew that when they pulled out. They had to have known that when they pulled out.
Battlefield where it's quicker, it's expedient, and we expect these guys to fight a mutual enemy. But the vetting to bring somebody into our country is wildly different. These people do not assimilate. They don't love America. They don't respect our Constitution. They don't respect our norms. They're coming here to dominate. And if we don't quickly deport these people, including this guy's wife and children after they're interviewed, we will see more attacks on service members. We were promised during the global war on terror that we're going to be able to fight the enemies of the United States on foreign soil so we wouldn't have another 9/11. Well, we just lost one service member. How many more service members are we going to have to lose because we're adhering to some politically correct political ideology on immigration?
And it is a politically correct ideology. I will always stand against it, simply because everything coming from out of that region, simply because when 9/11 hit, I was on base. I witnessed already the Twin Towers getting hit, and I thought it was a video game, and I was an NCO at the time, and so I know mobilizing troops and sending them over there, how insane it was. The thought that you were going to fight radical Islam at its core was something that people were jumping into the military to fight at that time. And now people just throw it around and they say, hey, yeah, you're being Islamic phobia. I'm like, damn, they blew up the Twin Towers, bro, and they didn't like us. What else do we need?
And while some are supporting the move, MS Now had a meltdown.
Well, it's not just Donald Trump or Stephen Miller or this greater White House. Some Republicans in Congress are calling on Trump to end all Muslim immigration, and I want to make sure I have it right, and quote, deport every single Islamist who is living among us just waiting to attack. Stuart, doesn't that language only ignite anti-American sentiment in parts of the world or among people?
So what? Who cares? Why is it that you're concerned with what the neighbor thinks about what you paint your house? It's stupid.
Who are living here?
She dumb.
Sure, and it's a fundamentally anti-American concept that we're going to pick people out by religion and deport them. It goes against the whole concept of why they're...
No, it doesn't, and that's the problem. It doesn't go against that concept if those people are using your freedom of religion against you. If they're using it against you, it doesn't go against it.
...is in America, and it's extraordinarily appalling and offensive.
Man, that's grandstanding, political grandstanding right there with him. That's it. Stuart Stevens, grandstanding. That's all it is. Because if I say something politically incorrect, oh my God, I don't want the people in my life to think that I am anti-Muslim, anti-this, and then it's wrapped in a feeling of a posture of oh well, no, we're a free country and we're open to people of all walks of life. That is true, but there still has to be a love for the country. Just because somebody is practicing Islam, we're not saying that they're wrong, but I do know if they're practicing Islam, okay, and they're talking about throwing over our country, or that Islam should be the primary religion, which I've heard before, of the United States. What the hell are we talking about? I mean, you're talking about making some type of political change, some change in the Constitution, which makes that a fact. That means they're prepared to go as far as they need to go to make that happen. They're prepared to. Not knowing this and recognizing this makes a lot of people go into a lot. Anyway, bro. Grandstanding, man. Grandstanding. That's what they do. They get on there and they just, oh no, it's not right. What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? That's not fair to everybody that's here that doesn't believe in Islam. And there's some good Islamics out there. Bro, is very different. Very different. There's people that are Muslim and they love the country. And then there's people that are Muslim that don't love the country. You let a bunch of them in that don't.
Well, my next guest is known as one of the straightest shooters on Wall Street with the track record of looking around corners and making really big calls before they happen. And right now, well, he's not liking what he's seeing. In fact, this week he shook the market up when he remarked that almost all financial assets are now overvalued. So let's bring in Double Line Capital founder, CEO, and CIO, Jeffrey Gunlock. Jeffrey, great seeing you. You've been pretty adamant. I want to start with private credit because you have been so adamant about this. You know, last week you pointed out there's never just one cockroach, but even before then you posted about pay in kind or PIK, and you know that's sort of represented in that blue owl.
Oh boy, said it's never just one cockroach. That's true. If you see a cockroach, it's never just one cockroach. It's just a bunch of roaches.
Stock, which is crumbling. Explain to the audience what exactly is going on here.
Well, we had a little bit of volatility earlier this year with the tariff tantrum, and then everything came back to calming down. And throughout the summer into the fall, we've kept at the tightest credit spreads we've had in a long, long time in the bond market. And there was a lot of easy financing, and there was kind of a one-rate sort of offerings from some of the CapEx in the data.
So I'm going to say this. This is the reason why we invest in real estate. This is why we invest not just in real estate being an asset, I guess we're talking about. I'm wearing a We Buy Houses sign, but yeah. But not just that, while we invest in gold, while we invest in crypto, while we invest in hard assets, and then also digital assets now, because it's supposed to be overvalued. What we're seeing right there is the value hit the maximum amount, and the scarcity and the desire for it, people are just jumping on it more and more. Whether you're talking about Bitcoin, which some people believe is overvalued also, or whether you're talking about houses, even with the decrease in housing available, it affects the value of the other houses that are standing there, and it raises the value. We hide money, or we put money. I said hide. You don't want to do it. And deceptive. We're not talking about anything deceptive. We park money, which is the best word, in all kinds of assets when we make money, when we earn money, when cash hits us. And that is the thing we have to work. We have to be just know that what's taking place right now economically in the economy, it's more than necessary. It's more than necessary. If anything, I feel like this is the hardest lesson that a lot of Black people are going to learn. A lot of people who probably just ignored what was taking place over the last 5 to 10 years. The drastic run up in assets, the overpricing of homes, raw land being right now so valuable. If you are just blown away by this and say, oh, assets are overvalued, do you think that rich people are actually turning around and I'm not buying? I'm buying only assets. That's all I'm buying. Whether I can park it into Bitcoin, whether I can put it into a good quality stock, okay? Whether I'm doing that, I'm still parking more money into those assets. And you got to do that. That is really what you should be doing, whether it's overvalued or undervalued, because the safest place is in a hard asset right now when you have high appreciation and inflation more than anything, high inflation. We haven't even begun to even get to the level, I believe, of inflation that probably is coming down the line. I think it's probably going to get a whole lot worse before it actually gets better, because lowering the rates isn't going to lower inflation. It's not going to do that. But what I do also see, and I'm starting to see it more and more, and real estate is always local. I'm in the Atlanta area. That's true. It may be a little bit different, which I believe it is, whether I'm in Augusta, Columbus. Some of the deals in Augusta, they're more steady. Columbus making a lot more steady. Atlanta can be, but that's what it's like. Every city's different. But what we're noticing is that even the assets that people have, like their houses, due to job loss, massive job loss, all these things are tossed in the air right now when people aren't able to pay their bills. So you're going to see a massive wealth shift and transfer. I'm going to see more agents getting out of real estate and quitting the business. That's definitely going to happen. It's already happening now in massive amounts. It's going to happen more crazier. So what does that tell me? If you want to get a real estate license, it's probably the best time to get it if you want to do that. Why? Because less agents in the game means more money to go around. And I'm just being straight with you. A lot of people are going to lose their house either to foreclosure or they're going to lose their house because of their tax situation. This is when investors who are creative, they may not necessarily have the maximum amount of money, but they understand where their cap numbers are, their cap rates are. They see the asset and they're able to get it at a good price. Yeah, a massive wealth transfer. And in a lot of cases, it doesn't even mean getting a loan. Deals like subject to deals, things like that make it so open to take over somebody's payment and continue to benefit from their lower rate that they even weren't able to afford because they lost their job. So they can't even make payments on that low rate house that they have. All of that stuff matters. The money isn't made when stuff is great. The money's made when things are harder, when things are bad, when they're worse. That's when the money's actually made. And we kept letting this false ideology, this false way of thinking. I say it is the same thing as the brainwashing for Christians in churches. Like, we keep thinking that this bad is bad. No, this bad is good for the people who are educated, and the people who desire to actually be educated, they get to know more. This is the type of stuff I talk about in the Patreon. This is the type of stuff I talk about on my Patreon, because this is the perfect time for it. I don't believe when everybody was jumping on a bus in 2020, 2019, and it was COVID and shit, I seen houses fly off. I sold a project 30, 40,000 over market value. Yes. Why? Because everybody was buying it. Why not? But was it the ideal time to actually buy and hold? No, it wasn't. It was only the time to probably put your money in, flip it, and then pull it back out because it was just hot. Now, as we get closer to the crashing is where you buy it and you hold it. I had too many partners who bought $5,000 units when the market was done and dead in 2008, 9, and 10. They bought 5,000 units, $5,000 units, $10,000 units in Atlanta. Will it ever get to that point? No. But I don't believe so, but I don't have a crystal ball. But one thing I do know is when there's pain, there's an opportunity to make profit. And it sucks, but you have to realize that. You don't go in with the thought of exploiting a situation, but you do see situations, and it's not exploitation if a person is losing it. And that is the issue that I have with the real estate space in majority. The investors know how to make money, and they know that it comes at the loss of the people who have it, because it's a zero-sum game. It's just somebody's winning and somebody's losing. You can make it easy for them to land in a place and give them some money. We'll give them some money for them to relocate. And I've done that before, buying a duplex. I had to give me and my partner had to give the girl some money in order to relocate out of the duplex. But the owner had to get rid of the duplex. Taxes were coming down. She couldn't pay the tax bill, okay? And we paid her what we thought was fair. She has the right to not take it. She has the right to take it. It doesn't matter. We can't tiptoe around these things, because in my community, as in this Black community, in the community which people kind of see more, we have this socialist mentality in some ways, where we think that when everybody's doing this and it's the hottest thing to do, we need to jump on a bandwagon. And that is the issue. No, when it's the hottest thing to do, you probably don't need to do it. When it's the least hottest thing to do, damn, that's probably where you need to be doing it. That's probably where your most energy needs to be, okay? And occasionally when it's the hottest thing, we get in and we end up staying in when it's bad. I got in the market when the market was shitty. When it was in 06, 05, 06, 07, I had no clue of anything. Like, I got into it and I thought that was just how real estate is. So when I look at this, I see all the opportunities from that time just resurfacing. And we're going to talk more about it because blah, blah, blah. So with this story, let's go to the next one. We're going to talk more about it because when the market is doing what it does, like adjustable rates, which are coming back, this is the time you need to be bringing up your real estate education, real estate game. This is the time where you can fuck up doing real estate at this time. because the windfall will just continue to flow more and more. This is the opposite side, the parallel side to what happened in 06, 07, 08. It was the mortgages within the industry. Now it's without the industry, outside of the industry, that's causing the collapse. That's still going to affect the industry. Because even when the mortgage industry collapsed and houses people were just going into foreclosure left and right, you still had that trickle into everywhere else. Jobs were becoming unsettled, uneasy. Businesses, income form, capital form wasn't readily available in some periods during that time. So we got to stop looking at these situations and saying this is yes, it's bad for the person losing their house. I'm not going to say that is great for them and it's shitty. But if you're somebody that's trying to get the bag, you're trying to add doors, you're trying to grow your portfolio, you're trying to get into the business and learn the business, you've had one foot in and one foot out, this is probably the best time for you to get in. You learn the most during this time, and your competition will slowly dwindle away. Just like we dealt with, I said earlier, we're going to have a lower amount of realtors. We're also going to have a lower amount of investors. Some people will stop fucking around with real estate. You got to realize that. That is the best blessing that you can freaking have right now. It is the best. They don't want to say it. Agents will never tell you that. Some of the investor people, you'll find out about that, and it's in their Patreon or in their private course or their groups, but they're telling their members. And I know it because even the listings that I have on the market, some of those listings, oh my gosh, I got offers that I'm like, this is not a freaking fire sale. This is not a fire sale. Oh no. What the hell are you sending me this shit for? But that's the mindset. Go out into the market, throw out all these offers, and see which ones bite. More will bite that won't bite. And I believe them. They're right. When you got 40% of the homeowners who own their mortgages free and clear, somebody's going to bite. Not because they haven't, somebody's going to bite, one, because they just got to sell. Liquidity is going to become and is becoming the biggest issue in the real estate space and the surrounding area. Liquidity. Where's the money going? Somebody's going to bite, and some people won't. But if I threw out 20 offers and I got one of them, would I still not do those 20 offers to get that one? Hell yes. Because in most of those cases, I'm going into that deal with little or no money out of pocket. Little or no.
Well, adjustable rate mortgages, which fell out of favor in the aftermath of the financial crisis, are catching on again. Here with the story is senior housing reporter Claire Boston. So Claire, to start here, what exactly is an adjustable rate mortgage?
Hi, Allie. So as the name suggests, an adjustable rate mortgage, the interest rate can change over time. Typically these days, you get either a 5, 7, or 10-year period where you have a fixed rate on your mortgage. And then after that period expires, if you're still holding that mortgage, the rate will start to adjust based on the prevailing market rate. So that means it could go higher, it could go lower, in exchange for taking on that extra interest rate.
If you have to get an adjustable rate mortgage to buy a house in this market, you might as well not buy a house. You might as well not, because if you think that if you think a 7% is too high, go back 20 years ago, 25, 30 years ago, when we had rates that could be as high as 10, 12, 13%. There was a period of time where that was not an uncommon thing to have rates that were 12, 13, 14%. It was just, we saved up our money, we bought a house, it was a fixed rate, and when the rates nationally dropped, we refinanced, and that was just it. So, but to get into an adjustable rate mortgage, to me, is such a short perspective mindset, because even if you think I'm going to move from this house in 5 years, you're going to find out that you may not move from that house in 5 years, depending on what inventory looks like. When I say that, think about it like this. If you are only going with an adjustable rate mortgage, and we already have a huge deficit shortage in housing right now, okay? And you're going into a house where let's consider it your starter home. You think by getting 5 years, you say, oh, well, 5 years from now, we'll be able to move and we can sell it and just buy something else, or we can refinance. You're banking on in the next 5 years that those rates don't continue to go up. Especially when we're entering a cycle, and these cycles aren't 3-year cycles, 5-year cycles. I believe we're in a good 10-year cycle right now. As much as they throw shit around and they want us to believe all this stuff, this is the new normal, at least for the next decade. I don't think it's going to change, and I'm not talking about Trump's tweets. I'm talking about just being able to access inventory and be someone that graduates from college, get a job, and then 2 years later you buy a house, which is the normal course of American dream, right? That's what they say is the American dream, which is not the American dream. It's the American pathway to slavery. But you buy a house, you're banking on that house, one, that there will be inventory available for you to sell that house and move to, and the rates will be the same. Nah, bro. Nah. Unless, especially with the shift in the monetary policy and the things that have taken place, no. That is the worst decision you can make. You're projecting something in the future, and what happens if you're 7%, or you did this for a 7% rate, and you should have just went with the 7.5%, and now the easiest and the only rate is 10%. And your mortgage will adjust automatically to that 10%. That's the going rate. So adjustable rates can work good for you in a bad, and then they work good for you in a good. But you can't predict what's happening, and I see more trepidatious times ahead of us than the best in the times.
Risk, you can often get a lower rate than what is available with a 30-year fixed. Right now, 30-year fixed rates are 6.3%, 6.4%. Adjustable rate mortgages will be around 5.8% for that 7 or 10-year period. So there's savings there if you're willing to kind of stomach that risk.
That's not enough to save. Between a 6.5 to a 5.8, no. You're talking about $100 or $200, at most $2 to $3. That's you like, oh, Leon, when I balloon pay, when further on down the line, it's going to be more. The balloon pay. You're not even going to pay off your house. Most people don't pay off their house. Okay, I'm not saying that's not something you don't want to do. You do based on your financial situation. It's ideal, but most homeowners won't do that. They won't do it. You're just going to bank that when you sell it and you walk away with your gains from selling it, that you will have enough in gains and that the rates will be reasonable enough for you to buy another house. And all bets say right now that builders aren't building any starter homes, and the homes that are actually would be considered step-up homes are like the next tier up. It's like you're starting at $500,000 when you should be starting in most metropolitans at somewhere around $2.25 for a house.
And you say that these types of mortgages are catching on. Where is that showing up in the data? How do you gauge the popularity?
Definitely. So the Mortgage Bankers Association keeps data on market share and how much these mortgages are being used. A couple weeks ago, we hit a post-crisis high of about 13% ARMs. This past week, it fell a little bit to about 9%. That being said, in some years, we've seen as little as 1% ARMs being used. They really fell out of favor after the crisis, but they're coming back now. And from what I hear, it's because people are really looking to get those lower rates, and ARMs are a way to do that.
And you said they're coming back into vogue again after what we saw with the boom and bust housing market, the 2008 financial crisis. How are today's ARMs different?
Definitely. People are pretty scared of ARMs because they just remember something happened with them in 2008. Basically, back then, ARMs could adjust as frequently as once a month when you were in that adjustment period. These days, the adjustment period typically lasts 6 months or a year, so you don't get those surprises. You know what your rate is going to be for a little bit of a longer term. It's also really hard.
Nah, that's still not good enough. They lying to you. Don't believe that cap. That's cap. Hey. Oh no. Don't believe that cap. Don't believe that cap. Don't think that when she's telling you that oh, 6 months, 9, not as much as every month. No, you don't want to go there. Go there at your own peril.
To qualify for an ARM, you have to be a very highly qualified buyer. You're going to need a good credit score, a good down payment, and the income that shows that you will be able to pay your mortgage even if your interest rate does rise.
If you can show all of that, good income, good credit score, good, if you can show those things, just get yourself a fixed rate. Just get yourself a fixed rate. There's no advantages to this in an inflationary market. It's just none.
And that really wasn't the case in 2008, but things have changed since then.
And how closely are these mortgages tied to the federal funds rate, especially since we know the Fed has started its easing process?
Yeah, we talk all the time on here about how when you have that 30-year fixed rate mortgage, it is not directly tied to what the Fed is doing. But ARMs are a little bit different because when you're in that adjustment period, you are tied to something called SOFR. And SOFR is very closely linked to the federal funds rate. And so if the Fed starts easing and you're in that adjustment period and SOFR falls, you may actually see your mortgage rate go down. It's a little early to tell, what is going to happen this time around, but the Fed did just cut. They say they may cut a few more times, and that means that as an ARM in an adjustment period adjusts, there could be a little bit of rate savings for those borrowers.
All right, we'll see what the Fed ultimately decides to do. Claire, thank you so much for joining us as always.
Thanks, Allie.
And for more.
Hey guys, like, subscribe, follow for more content. I always put out real estate content and I love sharing it, sharing what I know. And when you're done doing this, check out the other videos on the real estate side. And don't forget the Patreon is there because we need to talk more about money moves. And when when there's blood in the streets, that's when the best money moves are made. I'm telling you. Okay. Do your best. Stay away from this adjustable rate. It's not going to work. I got some friends over at Legacy Peak Funding. If you are a real estate investor and you need to build your portfolio, like I've been talking about, there's a lot of things that's taking place, which you want to be in that position to acquire these assets, because when people have to get rid of them, they have to get rid of them to somebody or somewhere. And our DSCR loans over here help investors scale and bring more assets under their portfolio.
Ever start a flip and realize you have no idea what's going on? Blueprint's upside down, crew is confused.
Guys, is this supposed to go like this? But you're financing? Yeah, that part doesn't have to be chaos. DSCR loans with 0 points from Legacy Peak makes it easier. And at least one thing on your project will finally make sense. My advice, go to legacypeakfunding.com and don't be like me.
Guys, I think these designs are broken.
Yep, Legacy Peak Capital. Go to Legacy Peak Funding for those DSCR loans. I've worked with them, great people. I love sending people over to them. To me personally, if you don't have the financing together, especially what's taking place in this real estate market, you're going to leave money on the table. Okay. One thing I do talk about in my Patreon is this is probably going to be one of the best times also to be a private lender. No lie. Okay. And I say it, and I'm going to continue to say it, because if you're somebody that's looking to add more assets, when the liquidity pulls from the market, you get a better choice on where you put your money. And when you put your money into an asset and it doesn't return, you get the asset. And it's great when you're only loaning 65%, 75% of that asset. So you get it with the maximum value, so you've already got 25% liquidity appreciation in it automatically. Okay. So I believe this is probably one of the best times to begin to get into that private lending space, because you're going to get a lot of people that are going to get out of lending. Okay. Traditional lending more than anything. And they're probably going to be getting more into that private lending space. So legacypeakfunding.com, that's where it's at. Let's go. Check this out, guys. The rent stabilization for apartments in the NYC. I keep saying this, man. Y'all got to realize it's never what they tell you until you actually dig in and you find the truth concerning some of these restraints that are placed on free market. And When I saw this video, I had to share it because this is truly what's happening in New York's rent stabilization era season since 2019, since they started throwing this out.
I'm currently standing in a vacant, rent-stabilized apartment that's been empty since 2021. And that's while New York City is undergoing a housing shortage. And the worst part is, it's estimated there are 50,000 other apartments just like this one sitting completely empty. The reason apartments like this are empty is because of a 2019 rent control law that prevented how much building owners could raise the rent on rent-stabilized apartments. And it's a well-meaning law. They thought it would protect renters. But what's really happened is it's taken away the incentive for building owners to upgrade these apartments because there's no way for them to make their money back. For example, if you put $100,000 into bringing this apartment up to code, the absolute max amount you could raise the rent is $347 a month. And the last tenant in this 2-bedroom Upper West Side apartment was only paying $1,160 a month. Well below
$1,160 a month. I'll give you perspective. For a 1-bedroom apartment in the city of Atlanta right now, in the city, you're talking about $1,200 a month. That's a 1-bedroom, okay? These guys, and we're not even talking about real estate that's as valuable as New York real estate. New York real estate is some of the most valuable real estate in the world, okay? In the world, definitely in the country. To have a 2-bedroom apartment at $1,100, where the average income over there is roughly, I think it's like 500 to about 800, I think it is, 800,000. It's insane. It's insane. And the owner can't raise the rent but $347 every year. This is why your money needs to move from out of New York, and you need to bring it down to Atlanta. Matter of fact, message me, DM me, follow me, join the Patreon. Let's talk about how we can take your money out of New York and bring it down to Atlanta so you can take advantage of some of these better buys, way better buys, way better buys, better cash flow, better cap rates. This is just how it is.
The market rate of $4,500 a month. Meanwhile, its estimated operating costs of an apartment like this start at $1,500 a month, and then there's the mortgage. So once you do the math, it's not hard to realize that for landlords, it's really hard to put tens of thousands of dollars into an apartment like this and only be able to raise the rent marginally and then still be operating at a loss. So what do? Unfortunately, they just lock the door and leave the apartments empty. It's estimated that 2.5% of New York's rental housing stock is sitting empty because of this 2019 law. And for a city that's talking about affordability and bringing more rental units on the market, this is just such low-hanging fruit, because if this law didn't exist, we
automatically see right here that what Zohran Mamdani is promising in New York, it's not even possible for it to come through. When he's standing in front of a house in that commercial and talking about this owner didn't do this owner didn't do that, this is the reason why the owners don't do that and why you have these crazy, dilapidated buildings that are falling apart because they couldn't afford it. And they can't even give it to the city because the city can't afford to do it. And so he's lying.
These apartments renovated and back on the market within months. But as it stands right now, there's no incentive for landlords to do it. And so they're just sitting empty. A landlord who's dealing with a similar apartment like this wrote a piece today for the Free Press. You can read it at thefp.com.
Yep. That's insane. That's insane. And nobody wants to talk about it. It's not that owners don't want to fix their place. It's not that you got a bunch of slumlords, even though you do have a bunch of slumlords. I'm not going to say there's no slumlords. But the amount of slumlords that would actually want to put money into the property so it can actually grow in value. You're in the richest city in the almost in the country. The mecca of capitalism. This is why it won't work. But man, you got to see Zohran's the gift that keeps giving. So let's go to the West Coast real quick, because I'm sitting down shopping for Thanksgiving, food and just following my wife around doing she had the time off, so I just decided to follow her around. We just go in different places. And I'm scrolling through social, man, and I see this one with 50. And 50 is talking about doing this movie in London. But this shit make me start digging. And I saw this. When I saw this, I said, damn. Wow. Our country will never be the same. Hollywood is officially dead. I'm telling you, it's officially dead.
And action. Fightland, baby. What's up, it's your boy 50 Cent. I'm here on set of Fightland, UK, London vibes. Check me out.
With desire, I take control. Oh, in the moment you'll find there's no one as cold as me. And I just see a little more me.
Southpaw, lefty, I call this my night game. UK, blade work, run for your life, and gang shit, bang shit. This is just a different drill. Lame shit, saying shit round hoes that they get you killed. Real shit, kill switch up the pole, you won't feel shit. Careful who you chill with, that might be who you kill with. Cash out, lash out, you gon' make niggas crash out. It's really not a problem, I mean if it's a problem. Your man got them hands, he want box. My man got that blick, he want pop. He on his third body, he won't stop. You niggas fuck around, we'll make it hot. Look, $1 million mindset, $1 million game plan. Dirty money handle the cleaning for when I shake hands. Round and round like clockwork, get stitches from that box work. Mess you in the ring or we gon' see who get the Glock first. You don't gotta like my stilo, no remorses, no regrets. Vestal to protect the veto, check a board but I play chess.
So 50's doing this movie, and he's doing some production in the UK. So when I'm listening to this, the trailer, I'm like, okay, yo, it's cool. 50 with that. 50 is notorious for pivoting where the bag is. We already know that we lost a ton of production studios in Atlanta, in Georgia. They went to the UK. And when this happened, a lot of people were scratching their head trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. You got to realize the same people who advocate for Black Lives Matter and all these other social programs, putting the money behind Democratic candidates, they don't care, because once they don't get what they want, they're just going over the pond to get it for a cheaper rate. They got cheaper, very cheap land in Atlanta, Georgia, along with a bunch of stipends and ways to actually circumvent the tax law. And once it gets settled, once Atlanta, Georgia becomes the new Southern Hollywood, and they elect someone into office that they don't like, they take the whole bag and they go overseas. Oh no. And this is what's starting to happen. Because I looked at this, I said, damn, 50 went there. Some of these studios are shutting down in Atlanta. Man, you got to realize in Atlanta, there was a point in time where a lot of people worked for the movie studios. I had clients and leads that came in when I was doing marketing for the south portion of the city, and I'm putting it out, fixer-upper properties. We got duplex, multifamilies. People would fill out those leads on Facebook and Instagram, and I'll have these conversations, and they'll be in the movie industry. They'll be in a movie business. I had one of my rentals, my very first rental. The lady who rented it for her daughter, for her niece, and she lived in California and did multiple movies as an executive. I can tell you, rent was never late. Okay, never late. But we're in 2025 right now. Days broke. Oh, God have mercy on my soul. Hollywood is dead. I'm telling you, it's dead.
The entertainment industry is seriously broken. I asked a few of my friends and colleagues to describe what they're going through, and I think you should take a listen.
My name's Matt Hoban. I'm a former executive producer. So many of my mentors and my friends and collaborators are working less, to the point where they're not working at all. We're just people trying to make a living, and it's getting really hard to do that.
I'm Jen. I am a former editor. I am definitely financially struggling. I may lose my house and it's really scary, so I really need help and a job and just some support. So thank you.
I'm Marcia, producer, casting director. The last show I worked on was Generation Gap. We're just trying to keep our kids fed at this point. Keep our house, keep our cars, get food on the table.
My name is Wilfredo Hernandez. I used to be a television editor, and I'm being forced to move out of my house because I'm not going to be able to afford the mortgage anymore. So let's try and make this very aware that we're all going through this to see if we could bring some change.
My name is Steve Mellon. I'm a reality television editor, worked on shows like The Amazing Race and Undercover Boss. There just isn't any work out there. My wife Stephanie has not worked as a post-production supervisor. She's working doing Instacart runs, trying to just keep her sanity and bring some extra money in. Half of my Rolodex, they're looking for work, they're scared, they could use some help and support.
My name is Erin. I'm an SVP of Development and Unscripted. I've been in the business for 22 years. I was laid off. I'm a single mother with 3 kids, and the situation really stinks.
Hi, I'm BK. I'm an editor. Last year, I was brought in to revamp a signature element of one of Netflix's most popular shows. I haven't worked since, and now my family and I are living on credit.
Hi, my name is Anna. I most recently worked as a TV post-producer. My insurance company is specifically targeting MPI members and taking a very long time to authorize medical procedures in a timely manner.
My name is Seisha, and I'm a former VP of production, and I have officially been out of work for 11 months. I've applied at over 200 job postings and have not gotten a single job.
Wow. 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 Okay, so the point is you got to pivot. You have to learn how to pivot in this time. And that's what one of the things I talk about in my Patreon, because I had a mentor said, man, you pivot really well. I don't waste time with a bunch of shit. I don't. We're dealing with an industry that has been set in its ways for years and believed that there was no way that it was going to fall. No way. The rise in streamers like me, like some of these other ones that are out here streaming live either throughout the day and the evening, making content. Hollywood is dead because of that. Hollywood will go as far as trying to get into the space of streaming and content for YouTube and some of these other channels to be competitive, bringing out people that really are fucking boring. Nobody gives a fuck about them. Okay? And it's not going to get better. It's actually going to get worse. I'm projecting that this shit is dead. When I say it's dead, why would you come back from the UK to now stream in the United States? I listened to one guy go through it and literally explain that it costs more to stream, to actually do 1 day of production in LA than it costs to fly everybody over to Ireland and the UK to film a movie. I don't know how true that shit is, but I do understand this, that Hollywood is dead. Oh no. Because the innovation that's taking place on the tech side, which allows people like me to sit down and stream this from my house, 2 hours, we go through all of this, all the top topics, post it online, get a bunch of subscribers that subscribe and listen to me talk this shit all day, right? And make money where they are doing this level of production where it's hundreds of millions of dollars that are spent to do this. And the bad part about it is people like him and some of the other ones who get residuals off of that, they never end up getting residuals. They never do. I mean, some movies see so much of a loss on paper, not in real life. I mean, after you pay the A-list actor, then your executive producer, what's left? Oh, we can't give, we got other bills we got to pay. Here's your $1.50 for the movie that you did that was a #1 box seller, And it's going to get worse. Pivoting is the most important part. As a believer, I really say this at the same time, man. 2026 is the time you got to really hear from God. You got to be able to listen and hear what he's actually telling you. And if you're somebody that you're just moved by the panic of other people, or you've been locked into a system that really you just been dependent on it giving you jobs. It's not like you really go to God and what do I do here? And you acknowledge him and you have some type of relationship. But you just completely just, you're going to be in that place right now where you're going to be looking for the cheese. So I keep saying there is one book out there, Who Moved My Cheese? Go get the book, read it, because the money is not going away. It's simply being moved somewhere else. And if you think that we're still living in an age where all of this is like, it'll go away when Trump leaves office. No, this is bigger than Donald Trump. This is way bigger than Donald Trump. You got to realize it doesn't profit Hollywood to do business in the States any longer. Hollywood can't compete against the independent producers, the independent storybook screenwriters, the people making content, streaming that people would rather tune in and listen to and talk about topics, be engaged, the vlogger, the people who vlog live. Why do we need to sit back and watch some boring ass movie that's overly edited with CGC or whatever they call it? Why do we need that? I would rather watch Netflix than sit back, rather watch YouTube and then Netflix than sit back and watch regular television. It makes no sense. I can have more engagement, more conversation, talk to people, and then listen to people give real insight on content. Whether it's the latest movie, whether you're watching the movie live stream, whether you're on Twitch watching Gamers Game, Hollywood is officially dead. Stop trying to revive it because it cannot be revived. And nobody wants it back. Nobody wants to deal with the ideology that is given through forced media. We like choices. We like the freedom to form our own ideas, to be able to be a free thinker, to say this doesn't make sense or this makes sense, and to go from there. But one thing is true. Hollywood is dead and there's no reviving it. There's no reviving it. Boy, I tell you. They're not going to like that. And I know Hollywood doesn't like it. In Atlanta, it's so, I'm telling you, man, it's so fraudulent because of things like that. Because we had an influx of people coming from all over the country, and their dreams were to be in the Atlanta Mecca movie, Black Hollywood, new Mecca. So now the whole essence and feel of that Southern charm, which lured me in 25 years ago, I'm like, oh, shit. Woo. Now, because of that, I've been doing this Living in Atlanta series, and this is, I think this is probably the 6th episode on this Living in Atlanta series, because some of you guys don't realize that is bad and that is good in this city. When I say bad and good, we're not talking about daylight and nighttime. I'm talking about there's a lot of bad shit, and then there's a lot of good shit in the city. But you gotta go through a lot of the bad stuff to get the good stuff. I've seen more people move to this city and then leave within 30 to 60 days than actually stay. Seen it, they come and they go. They can't, if you're here in some cases over 5 years, you're like a Titan. You might as well consider yourself someone like a Southerner. Oh no! Because it's not built for everybody, okay? So before you go buy a piece of land or buy some real estate down here, I like you to know what it's like. Because the reality of it, there's a ton of money to be made in Atlanta. It is probably one of the most energetic cities you will ever go to, but there's money and business to be done, not friendships to be won. If it comes, it comes, but be suspicious of the people that it comes from and have a plan. Have a plan, please have a doggone plan. So let's talk about this Living in Atlanta series.
I have avoided talking about this on TikTok because this app is dumb. Pure and simple. The people on this app don't have good comprehension skills. And if you have an opinion that is different from other people about a place that they love and that they covet, people like to take it personally and personally attack you and dogpile on you. And honestly, I'm not the bitch for it. So I'm going to say this now. If you are one of those people that are going to be personally offended that somebody doesn't like your city, please click off of the video now. I don't give a fuck that you love it. I didn't have a great experience there. And I should have the right to speak about my experience without you taking something personally. another disclaimer I want to give, because I hear this a lot when people talk about they don't like Atlanta. I didn't move there to be in the entertainment industry. I didn't move there because I'm an aspiring actress, rapper, model, whatever. I'm a regular person with a regular job, living a regular life. And so I didn't move there with that kind of glitz and glam expectation. So there's that. Now that we've gotten all of that out of the way, I think I can give you like the top 3 things. Number 1 is going to be the people. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, how do those people with transplants? They're all transplants. That might be true, but Houston has a ton of transplants too, and I still don't have the same experience here that I have there. The people there that I met were weird. I just felt a lack of authenticity and a lack of genuineness, if that's even a word, coming from the people that I met that were trying to enter my life. When I would meet people there, it always felt like they were befriending me to get something out of me. I don't know, like...
She's not wrong. Like I said, there's a lot of scammers in this city. There's a lot of times there's alternative motives on why people try to befriend you, especially if they're very aggressive. I've seen it. I've been a victim of it. And you don't even notice it coming at you. It just happens. And if you're not very sensitive to the flow, you get swept up in it. You think Negroes like you.
Just never felt like they just wanted to be my friend just because they wanted to be my friend because they liked who I was as a person. And that can be really off-putting when you live in a city and you only have 1 to 2 friends and you don't have any family there. The lack of community, if you have a lack of community, and I don't care where this is, you're going to have a poor experience in that place. Like, while I am an introvert and I do solitude very well, you want community, you want friends, you want people you can rely on, you want people that you can confide in. And I just didn't find that there because the people were off-putting to me. Piggybacking off of the people, the customer service. I know that Atlanta is supposed to be the epicenter for all things Black excellence, all things great, this, that, and the third. It's not. It's smoke and mirrors. For Atlanta to be a southern city, it is relatively expensive, right, to live in Atlanta. And the best way that I can describe this feeling is that every time I opened my wallet to pay for something, I felt like I was being scammed or taken advantage of. Nothing was worth what I was being charged for. Not the housing, not the food, not any of the services that I paid for. Like, people take so many shortcuts. It's fucking ridiculous. But they gonna hit you over the head with them prices. And
they gonna hit you really hard. We don't eat out. My wife cooks very good. We found that eating out, it's overrated in the city. And it wasn't just... we were doing that way before all of this economic shit that's going on right now. We were doing that way before. Going into restaurants and having somebody give you an attitude and they're serving you the food, it makes you sweat because you're trying to figure out, are they going to put something in my shit? And that's more the thing here, because you get a lot of women that don't know how to cook and a lot of men that don't know how to cook also. So they're always eating out. And I've got friends and associates that all they do is eat out in some cases from Thanksgiving on down. That is the issue. That's you're going to have bad customer service. Bad.
Then they're going to have a nasty attitude about it too. Like, the people were not friendly. There was no Southern hospitality. I would greet people, like I would see people out on the street and they would make eye contact with me. So I would say hello. Nobody would speak back. If I was going somewhere to get a service done, I would ask the service provider, hey, how you doing today? No reply. They wouldn't even ask me how the fuck I was doing. So it's just like, damn, why everybody so angry? Like, what is it? I don't understand. I don't get it. And then lastly, we all know this one, the dating pool.
Oh, before she even get into dating. Now, if you're somebody and you are like, you actually speak to people when you see them, like, just out of courtesy, I mean, they're human beings. They're regular people. Like, saying, hey, what's up? How you doing? While you're passing them by, that's normal. My wife had that same experience. Just coming and just being someone that she comes from a small town, being someone that just speaks to people just out of courtesy. You should see how many people look at her, which I'll probably do a video on the street. And they're like, they look at her like she's doing something to them. I'm just saying hi, yo. That's it. And there are people that will respond, but there's more people that won't than will. It's Crazy.
Terrible. Now, I didn't go to Atlanta looking for my husband, because if that's what I was going looking for, like if that was my main goal was to find my husband, I never would have moved to Atlanta in the first place. But while I was there, I did get the desire to start dating, and the dating pool had feces in it. It just wasn't good. The men really want you to cater to them, and I think it's because there's such an assortment of beautiful bad women in Atlanta. The women outnumber the men, so the men feel like the ball is in their court and they can kind of pick and choose. And if you a woman who wants a man, you gonna cater, you're basically gonna compete with the other women for their attention, and I wasn't doing that.
That's the law of supply and demand. That's the law of supply and demand in Atlanta. That is the law of supply and demand.
Okay, calling all my 30 and up folks, transplants that have moved to Atlanta, who have been here for at least 5, maybe 10 years. Like,
I don't know. She a little suspect, yo. I don't know about that. I don't know if this is like the authentic. Comment if you think this is the authentic. I don't know if this is the authentic. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I don't know. Her voice is soft, but I just don't know. Maybe that's a lot of makeup, dim light. And I'm not trying to do that, but damn. I live in a city, and I told you, like, my wife she'll be walking like, I think he's got an Adam's apple. I think she's got an Adam's apple. Yeah. Welcome to Atlanta.
Does anybody else feel like there's been a shift? Like, it's just not as exciting as it once was. Like, I fully got dressed tonight, did my makeup, did my hair, got dressed, changed my outfit, got to the door, and was like, I'm not doing this. I'm just not doing this. It's not worth my time. As much as I just want to hear some live music and have a drink and decompress from the week, I'd prefer to stay at home and do it with my cut water and my dog. I love her. But is anybody else feeling this? Is anybody else feeling a shift in Atlanta? Like, is it time to reload? Is it maybe time to switch up? I don't know, but I'm not feeling this at all. I can't get jiggy with it. It's not giving what needs to be gave. Somebody please advise. Thank you.
Yeah, you going out in Atlanta has changed drastically over the last, I would say 24 months. Probably sooner than that, earlier than that, but it's definitely, it's not what it used to be. Not at all.
Okay, so ever since I moved to Atlanta, people ask me like, do you like Atlanta? Do you like Atlanta? No, I do not like Atlanta. I feel like everything here be fake. And I feel like that's because everybody moved here and it be all the different mixes, but this is the main reason I don't like Atlanta. See, like Atlanta and maybe other cities that's like those high commodity cities like LA, Houston and stuff like that, it is like so many like rich things going on. Like, okay,
when y'all do these videos, listen guys, stop doing this it's hard to listen to. It's hard. And I know she's young. That's probably the way she speaks, and she doesn't think anything of it. But it's hard to listen to. Come on, come on.
Day when you on like I-75 or something, or like the other one I-85, I think you're gonna see $500,000 cars, McLarens. You're gonna see all type of shit, and then you got the whole Lenox area, and then even the surrounding areas are like.
She got some lips on her, boy. What's up with that? She put the lip. That's the thing I talk about in Atlanta. It will always be extra. You can't just get a normal, like, getting on the screen. They're always prepared to go viral on some shit. Always. Like, come on.
So much money to live in. Like, the cost of living is crazy out here. So it's like, that is the real, like, trying to keep up with the Joneses for real. And, like, back home in Detroit, like, the average motherfucker really only gonna have a Challenger or a Charger. You pop out with a Mercedes, you pop out with a BMW. Like, you can even have a C-Class Mercedes and people still gonna be like, oh, shit, you winning. But here, that's not shit. So it's like, the females are all trying to keep up with the Joneses. Everybody's so fake. And the dudes are so much more aggressive. Like, Detroit people are more aggressive. Like, let's say you trying to make a new friend. Or let's say, like, you looking at somebody too long. They be like, what the fuck is you looking at? But at the end of the day, also, if a dude approach you in Detroit and you're acting like you're not interested or something like that, they're going to leave you the fuck alone. Here, if you act like you're not interested in a dude, he does not care. And on top of that, I've had way older men approach me. I'm talking about like 20.
Before she even says that, she's 100% right. How many times these niggas in I'm sorry, these people down here, these y'all dudes down here, God is my witness. I'm a peaceful dude, but at the end of the day, if it needs to be, it needs to be. You guys don't get the picture when you see women, whether they have a ring on or whether they don't have a ring on. If they don't want to pay attention to you or they're not interested, stop being extra and jumping over to everything. Man, I was in a lounge 2 weeks ago. I just went to go use the bathroom. It's a cigar lounge. Older, you figure it's an older spot, more mature. We don't have a bunch of YNs running around there. I mean, most people average 35 years old and older, you know, between 35 and like 55. I'm chilling with my wife. We got a plate of food. We got a stick. I go to the bathroom. Why the hell did the dude who's behind in front of us turns around to look at my wife? She's bobbing her head to the music. Come on, yo. And I'm like, bro, the disrespect is why a lot of shit goes the way. And it's almost like the women don't outnumber the men. And even though the women do outnumber the men. Even though there's more women than men out here, you figure as a dude, like you got a choice. They just seem to just can't take no for an answer. They just, and it's weird, the disrespect with it. So I'm very cautious. I'm very particular because we're in a place now, and it's not just with these YNs, these young cats, it's with these older dudes too. They don't know how to read the signs that they need to stay in their lane and not to sniff on somebody else's grass. They really don't.
8 is too old for me. 29 is too old for me. 30 is too old for me. But I've had 40, 45, 50-year-olds approach me since I've been down here. And their main thing is, oh, I can take care of you. Oh, I could do this for you. Oh, I could do that for you. As a man should want to take care of you, but it's just the point. Like, that's their opening line. Like, oh, let me take care of you. And since the cost of living down here is so much and everybody want to keep up with the trend and keep up, that's their opening line because they know if they come in with that pay, most of the females down here is really going because they want to keep up with that lifestyle because everything here is so expensive. Just take it. If you want to get a frontal, that's like $300 here. Your nails done, $100. Lashes, $150. That's already $600. You doing that every 2 weeks, that's $1,200. That's rent back home. Then your permit, $1,000 to $2,000. Gas, because everywhere you go is 30 minutes plus. It might not usually take 30 minutes, but it's going to take 30 minutes on that motherfucking freeway. So even though being down here is more open, like you can make friends, well, I don't even know if they real, but friends easier, it's also more fake. Because people trying to be somebody they not to try to keep.
Yeah. It's a lot more fake. It wasn't like that when I got here in 2000 and in 99. It wasn't like that. Those times are different. I just think Atlanta is just a great place to make money, and I'd rather live in the suburbs and drive into the city. And to me, that's my whole goal, bro. Because it's not the same, and it's it's only getting worse.
Nothing is more interesting to me than people who say, I'm moving to Atlanta. You ask them what area they stay in, they say McDonough, Snellville, Dallas, Georgia, Ackworth. Why are you moving here and living there? That does not make any sense. You need to stay in the city. There is no way you have a social life and you stay out there. No.
It's a perfect way to have it's perfect. You can have, hold on. I'm not going to do that to sis.
Am I doing
Hold on. It's perfect. You can live in the suburbs and go into the city for fun and move back. Don't let anybody tell you that you got to live in the city of Atlanta and to actually have fun. You can go into the city and out the city, and believe it or not, most of the dudes that I know that actually are doing anything of any level of significance don't want to be distracted by a lot of these booty clappers that are going around here and luring them in the city of Atlanta because they're definitely here. I'm telling you, they definitely here. Definitely here. So don't believe that. Don't believe that hype.
Something wrong with my life, or is everybody in Atlanta like a millionaire? Like, I have a pretty decent job. I make very good money. But y'all be taking trips every 12 hours to different places. Like, what the fuck? Can somebody put me on? Like, what do you guys do? I don't understand. Then you go out somewhere during the week. Everything is crowded. Like, do y'all not have real jobs? I just don't understand. I don't get it. I feel like I'm on the wrong path or something. I'll just be outside, like, all the time. Like, who is paying your bills? How are you paying your bills? I'm tired of this shit. I need somebody to tell me what the fuck they are doing, because what the fuck, bro?
Hey, you're not doing nothing wrong. She's not doing anything wrong. I didn't quite get it. I thought being outside when I first got here and things like that was it. Nah, you're doing the right thing. You keep that boring ass life going on, that consistent life, that quality of life. You want quality over quantity in this city. When I say quantity, fuck when they tell you you need friends. No, you don't. You don't need friends. You don't. Not in the city. You don't. You need quality over quantity. You're better off having one friend and a nice paying, boring ass job, or a nice paying business, and you stick to yourself and you focus on doing what you got to do. Don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype. I had one guy, it was all cap. He's telling me, hey, yeah, I got friends here. I know this. When they dropping too many names, you better run. You just better be out, bro. You better go to Ghost.
It baffles me that people keep moving to Atlanta. Let me just say this, okay? To buy one of these, it's about $500,000 minimum to $1 million, and you got a nice pine tree view. The weather's like this.
Cap. You can find something for about 3 1/4, 3 1/2. It's not going to be like the best. That's if you're living in the city, you want to be 5 and up. But if you're living outside of the city, yeah, you're still going to find places that's 5 and up, but you can find some good solid places, $399, $400, 4 1/4. You're like, Leon, that's not too different from 5. Well, shit, I just told you what it is, and you can just decide what you want to do with it from there.
75% of the time in the winter, and you're going to pay about the same taxes as California and New York.
Not the same. Not the same.
Okay, so I've been living in Atlanta.
Not the same. No, that's cap. The taxes aren't as crazy here as they are in California and New York. Nowhere near. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Unless you're going to some places like in Buckhead, or you're going to some very expensive parts of Atlanta. Now you're outside of Atlanta. You're in Alpharetta. You're in Johns Creek. These are all north areas of the city. Or you're in Peachtree City, which is the southern part of Atlanta, which is very, very southern. They drive around in golf carts. Then you can see that amount out there, but not. Nah. You good. But I am an advocate. If you have a family, you want to move outside of the city. Don't let anybody tell you that you got to be in the city. Outside of 285. Just do it and you'll have a better life. Trust me.
3 months now, all right? And I can tell you this. First, we're going to start with the club culture, where it costs more money to park your car than it does to get in the actual club. Like, how is it $50 for me to park my car in this empty, abandoned lot? Oh, wait, no. We own that lot, too. We own that lot. No, you don't. Damn! And then once you get in the club, if you do not have a section, you're automatically broke. You don't have a section in Atlanta, it's over, buddy. Okay, so let's talk about food and drink. If your name ain't Keith Lee, you're going to be waiting over an hour for some food. I don't give a fuck if you just order salmon over jasmine rice. That's going to take about an hour. You're the only motherfucker in there. It's going to take an hour. Now, you think your food going to be $20 until you see that gratuity. That $20 is going to turn into an easy 50 quick. 30% gratuity, like what? This is what...
And that's the thing I hate about the city. Do you know a lot of the places put the gratuity already on the receipt? So when you get your bill, you get your gratuity, especially in the city, and it's easy. They've already determined that this is an 18% or 20% gratuity, and the waitress only moved like she's 5% or not even that. Okay, I think it does and I know why they do it. They do it because they want to retain good people. They want people there to know that they're going to get paid, especially if their base is so low and they make most of their money off of gratuity. That's great. But there has to be a system where the quality of service also meets that level of gratuity. We don't have that here. It's not here, but it needs to be there. And for that reason, a lot of people complain. A lot of people complain.
The only cities where you actually got to pay gratuity to get your food to go. Like, why am I doing it? For what? All you did was put the food in the box. Atlanta, going to a Hawks game, sitting courtside. That's the equivalent of going to Jamaica. Okay, when you're going on a date in Atlanta, all right, you got to be careful. You got to look at the throat and the hands and the feet. As for baby.
My dude is right. My dude is right. The engineering is so unique down here. You gotta, look. God, look, bro.
Picture two while you at it. In Atlanta, it's like you got to wear designer everywhere you go. I don't give a fuck if you just picking up the mail, pumping gas, going to Target. You got to put it on. It's
not true. You ain't got to wear designer everywhere you go. That's cap.
In Atlanta, everybody's a celebrity, all right? You don't even know what they do or what they even known for, but hey.
You're right. Everybody thinks they're a celebrity in this city. For whatever reason, they're celebbed out. And
So the last video that I posted about things that I've learned about living in Atlanta now that I'm coming up on a year here. So I don't know if this is going to be a series, but here's another thing that I have learned about living in Atlanta, having almost been here a year. The food here is nasty. Did I offend y'all? I'm so sorry. But like, I'm so sick of lemon pepper wings. I'm so sick of hot wings with lemon pepper sprinkles.
overrated, guys. Overrated. I keep saying it.
Like, the food here is not that great, y'all. So I'm from Detroit, okay? So back home in Detroit, we got everything. We got corned beef sandwiches. We got Coney Island, you know, chili cheese dog, chili hot dog. We got pizza, like deep dish pizza. We got fried shrimp, fried fish. We got...
Girl, we got all of that same thing here, too. It's just they charge the most for it, and the recipes don't be as tasty. We got the same thing. It's not no different.
Oh, no. What else? What? We got Mediterranean food. We love us a shawarma.
We got Mediterranean food, too. I don't know what she's talking about. We got that here. It's just that it's not good everywhere.
Like Detroit food is just scrum delay yum yum. But like here, everything is a wing. And I don't like that. I don't like that. And then when you go to these restaurants, the restaurant offers you an aesthetic, but no substance. It offers you a vibe, but gratuity is 20% included.
Ooh, I said it already, and you hear it again. And it's the vibe without the substance. I mean, it's places that I've been to in the city where you like, man, this is, you know, this is the vibe. You want to get up in the, but it's no substance. Like, it's not the food. Everything looks great. You got great looking chairs. The tables are, and you're like, dang, this is like a real modern or either eclectic vibe. But then the food comes, you're like, shit, I could have fixed this at home. Okay. And I got to give a shout out to my white people because honestly, I've been to more white establishments in Atlanta and the aesthetic does match the vibe. Now, they still fall short on the food sometimes, but it's not as often, okay? And there's some great restaurants in Atlanta. The food is awesome in some of them. But you got to realize some of those places, the line to get in, crazy long. Crazy. And you don't want to eat there all the time because heart disease is a real thing. All right. Oh, man, I'm going to tell you. Hey, guys, like, subscribe, follow for more content. I reached my 2-hour window, and I am hopping off. Real Estate Lunchbox. Leon, thanks for following me. Let's check me out on Facebook, YouTube. I see you guys on the next video. And you can check this out in my Live in Atlanta sequence. And guys, have a great day. Talk to you soon.